I have no love in my life, and I'm somehow still surviving. Now, it's the release of this date is gonna be Valentine's Day, but I wanted to make this video because I feel like a lot of people probably relate with me, and they probably relate with the fact that there's not like a whole list of things that are explained to us about life, and I think we kind of go on longing, desiring, waiting, you know, in a good manner for these things to kind of find their way to us, and sometimes we think that maybe this is the only way out, out of our misery. And I think a lot of people, especially today on Valentine's Day, are gonna feel that emotion. They're gonna feel alone. They're gonna feel miserable because they feel like they're missing something. They feel like there's a thing that they don't have, right? It's always that what you don't have that you really desire. And so, isn't there that thing where people begin to kind of say that you need 5 hugs or 8 hugs a day or a week for survival, and then for optimal health. And kind of find that claim a little bit ridiculous now, because I must have died 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm making this video because I wanted to basically relate with some of you guys and let you know that it's okay if you don't feel loved, and if you don't receive it on a day-to-day basis, and you kind of long for it, because there's a sort of, I want you to understand that either you can have love for yourself, and sometimes that's enough, because you might not be getting it from any external place. So what you have to do is you have to shut out the external, and you have to move inward into yourself. And sometimes when you move inward into yourself like that, what you face is hell. What you face is torment and torture and agony, because what's inside of you, what you think is lovable is actually a whole lot of shadow work that still needs to be done. There's a whole lot of you that still needs to be discovered inside of you. And I think a lot of people put that off because they want to chase things, they want to run after things, they want to enjoy. There's the fear of missing out. And so we do these things not because we really want to, not because it's the correct thing to do, or because we really want it, or because we really need it. But we do these things because we feel a sort of a pressure to. When you're away from your tribe, your body's signaling to you to get back to your tribe, otherwise you're in an extreme amount of danger. And I want you to understand that society doesn't want you to feel loved. They don't want you to know that self-love is a thing, because it has been shunned. It has been shunned by history, by people, that loving yourself is not something that's possible even in the eyes of some people, because they believe that only love is something that's only external. You can't have internal love. You can't appreciate yourself. And then some people might feel icky, they might feel egotistical, they might feel like they're engaging in pride. But I think it's okay to be proud of yourself, and it's okay to love yourself. And sometimes these things, they need to be provided to us by ourselves, right? We provide food for ourselves, we clean ourselves, and at the end of the day, even our education is dependent upon us. Yes, we have teachers, yes, we have peers, yes, we have mentors, coaches, people that give us their experience, but at the end of the day, what it all boils down to is you. It's you and your ability to make things happen, your ability to feel a certain way, your ability to acknowledge a certain thing and to think about it in a certain way, that's all in your power. And it has nothing to do with anyone else or anything else. And I've always felt that I've had love for myself, and I was taught and I was taken away from me, and then I thought that I could only receive love externally, that I could only receive love if somebody else loves me. And it's been about a long time since I have felt a connection with another human being in that way. With my family, with my best of friends, I don't feel like I have that connection. Like my father, my brother, now that my mom's passed away, my sister's moved on, me and my best friend, we don't really meet up as much anymore. And so, in my own solitude, I have realized that the only real sense of love that I have felt recently is me for myself. And no other reason, no other cause has kept me, I think, even kept me alive. Because although I do long, although I do desire, although I am waiting patiently that maybe someone is right for me, maybe the right circumstances in the right place, but I have given up on the fact that I can only receive love externally. And on this day, Valentine's Day, which is a day I don't really like, I don't really understand the concept of, and I don't, even if I was in a relationship, I do not like Valentine's Day, because it's like saying like, oh, are we postponing our love for this day? Do you only love somebody on a certain day? Like the roses at a flower shop get inflated 3 times the price, 4 times the price, 6 times the price when it's the evening. And by today, there's going to be men that line up to buy these bouquet of roses for their wife, for their girlfriend, for whoever. If it's anybody, for anybody. But I don't think they ever do these things on a random day. I don't think that they ever spontaneously buy gifts for each other. It's almost as if though you need a dedicated holiday. You need some thing to force you to love. And I think that's kind of bizarre. That's bizarre that we postpone our love, that we wait to love one another, and that we wait to give each other comfort. We wait to give each other words of gratitude and affection and encouragement, because we feel like either we are not deserving or the other person is not deserving. Like one time I asked my mom after a high school graduation, right? I asked her, are you proud of me? And she told me something real. She told me no. She told me she would be proud of me if I finished university, right, and got a job. And so, see, at that point in my life, I was really seeking that validation, because I thought I was kind of proud of myself. I thought I did something good, right? And a lot of other kids were struggling to do what I did. I used to struggle in my own life in middle school, and I felt very unloved. And later in life, I learned to appreciate myself. And now that I have finished university, and my mom passed away in that meaning time, and between that time, she's not here to say those things to me anymore. I can't hear her say, I'm proud of you. I can't hear her say, I'm so happy for you, or whatever, right? Like I can't experience these things anymore. They're gone. So all I have left is me, right? There's nothing that I can do that somebody's gonna always take care of me. Somebody's always gonna have my back. So I have my back, right? Like, and a lot of people, I think they postpone, they wait they hold that love in because they think that somebody's coming. They think that the universe is lining things up and that it's all gonna work out, and that, like, oh, then they can pour all this love onto this individual. But then how are you going to feel loved? How are you going to appreciate that you are also an individual human being, and that that person would also be an individual human being with their own life, their own past, their own traumas, their own experiences? And perhaps they might not be comfortable with the amount of showering of love that you are doing because they might not feel that it is authentic, right? And another thing that I want to mention is how we sort of only do really special things for other people, and we believe that these are limited to only them and never for us. So for an example, if you really had, let's say, I'm talking to you as a person, right? Let's say you had a significant other, a husband, a wife, that you love dearly, right? Dearly. You would give your life for them. You would do anything for them. But let's say you didn't love yourself as much, and you didn't do any of these things. So what you do is let's say you cooked meals for them. You prepared things for them. You made them happy. You gave them words of affection. You told them you were proud of them. You encouraged them through things. You bought them chocolate on a random day to make them feel better, right? Or you showed up. You showed up when nobody else was showing up. Or you decided to lighten the mood, right? You do these things for another person because you love them. But it seems that a lot of people see these things as limited. They don't see that they deserve those things and that they can be provided for by them. So, as an example, if you were gonna go out and treat a girl to a date and buy all these fancy things for her, and then she ends up not even enjoying it, or she ends up ditching you, never doing another date, she ends up, using you to eat, get her stomach full, and then leave, and then never talk to you again. And so you put in all that effort on this individual, you showered them with what you thought was love, and you now feel empty because you've given it all away, right? And so it's like if a country was to give away all of its resources to other countries, right? How can it have food for itself, for its own citizens? It can't. And those citizens will starve. So if we are dependent upon others for all of our love, I think that we become dependent upon them for almost all forms of affection, and we become inaffectionate towards ourselves because we believe it's not possible, or that our ego is getting in the way, and it tells us this is wrong, this is not right, like this is I shouldn't be doing this, or there's so many tricks of the mind that it plays to get you to try to go out of your way and feel miserable. And I think a lot of us in our lives have been addicted to misery, have been addicted to pain and suffering, because that's what your brain knows. That's all that it knows. It does not want to move out of these things. And what I wanted to make this video for is for all these people out there that might be dreading this day, and they might be dreading being alone. They might look back and say, oh, what's wrong with me, and why is everybody else happy, and this and that, yada yada yada. What I want you to know is all these people, even in relationships, they lack love, right? And it doesn't matter if how they show it to the world on social media or in front of everybody when they're together. These things don't really end up mattering because it's deep down inside they don't actually have love for each other. They're merely just they're in a relationship, but they're not really connected. They're not really they're not really conjoined as a human connection with love. They really just use each other, for support. And I've seen this happen with many of my friends, with many other people, husband and wives. They hate each other. They have no love, yet they pretend like they love each other. They pretend like this is working, this is good. And they will see someone who's alone and tell them, oh, you need to get married, you need to have kids, you need to do this, blah 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 blah, or this is how you love, this is what you do, this is how you should do this. And then it's really funny to me because they lack the very thing that they might think it's the most worthy thing in life. I'm not shunning love, I'm not against love, I'm all for it. I believe it is the vital source of life. I think all things, if you look into it, have a capability to being loved. But it's an illusion of the mind to believe that these things are only external and that we cannot have them simply because we appreciate ourselves, because we love ourselves. And again, it's not going to be easy to love yourself if when you go inward, when you remove yourself from the external, you become internal, you will face yourself. And if who you are is not something that you enjoy, then that is a battle within. There is a battle within and there is a battle above, right? In the religious books, it almost always says that there was a battle for your soul in heaven. And if you can look into these things, you will see that you have to battle your own shadow, and you will begin to see that some parts of you are actually unlovable, right? And you will begin to see that you must love those parts in order for them to receive love. In order for you to feel anything, you will have to go down into the depths. As Jung said, no tree can grow to the size of heaven without having first its roots deep in hell. And I have gone through this with experience. I say this with experience, that you are very unaware of the things that you do constantly, right? And if you were just to become a little more aware of these things, of how you behave and how you behave towards yourself, you would begin to see that this is not the right way to go about it. Could you imagine if the self-talk you had for yourself was directed at your significant other? Could you imagine if you looked at yourself in the mirror, right, and you say, oh, I'm ugly, or I'm this, I'm that, I'm fat, I'm this? Could you imagine saying these things to your significant other? You wouldn't, right? Because you wouldn't want to break their heart. Because it's too harsh, it's too mean. But you say it to yourself. And so maybe this is some insight for you to realize that you should be nicer to yourself. You are a human, and you are also an individual with a story. And your story matters. If it doesn't matter to anybody else, it should matter to you. And so I wanted really to address this video to anybody who feels lonely, who feels like they have no love. Because this is an illusion. And I feel it on a daily basis. I struggle with it on a daily basis. I wake up and I desire, I long for love. I go to sleep and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm like, like I know I'm working on this thing, and yet still my mind is occupied with externals. It's occupied with anybody, because when you're in a state of loneliness, when you're in a state of lack, you want to just reach out to anybody, anything that will sap you, or just, zap you out of it, take you out of this situation. And sometimes we don't feel loved enough because we've never been taught what these things are. We've never been taught even what true love is. Because we see it as materials, we see it as, acts of affection, kindness, but I believe it's deeper than that. Much, much deeper than that. And nobody can take away your self-love. Once you start cultivating it, and once you know that you are deserving of love, and you've done the actions, you've taken the actions, you've done things, you've physically gotten yourself involved in loving yourself, you will begin to see that this is the sort of love that can't be taken away from you, that sort of blossoms. And I feel that if two people were to come together who are practicing this sort of self-love, it might have a greater benediction to that love. It might create a greater freedom, a greater connection, because both individuals are not coming from a state of lack, from a state of not having or needing, right? But rather wanting, enjoying, taking pleasure in the fact that they're moving out, right? Once you have gone inward, you will have to come out. Once you go to the top of the mountain, you cannot stay there. You will have to come down and mingle with the people again. And that is the purpose of these things. You cannot just go up there and live like a monk and be like alone forever. Okay? So, anyways, I'm going to start making more of these kind of videos because I want to talk about things that are really personal to me, and I feel that might be taboo to talk to. And so these videos are going to be my way to express them and express my ideas in a free and safe environment. So I really appreciate you if you stuck around for all of this, and just know that you should love yourself and you deserve it.